This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, this is Bill O'Brien, acting chairman in the absence of Paul Aurelia, calling to order the Thursday, April 4th, 2024 Parks and Rec Committee meeting at 5:30 p.m. And we need a motion to approve the minutes of March 7th.
I would certainly make a motion to approve those minutes.
Have a second?
I'll second it, Gary.
Mike? Any discussion? All in favor? Vote aye.
Aye.
Any
This is
opposed?
Amy. I made it.
Okay. I guess passes unanimously, Aileen.
Yep.
And Chad, you're up to bat first.
Okay, how's everybody doing? Hopefully not too soggy.
Oh, God, is the rain ever going to end? Jeez.
Nah, I don't know. I'm a firm believer now. No.
Must be killing you with the field maintenance.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we're a little bit behind, but working with Sterling House and Catherine has been great. You know, working with the athletic directors, trying to cancel games, reschedule games, get them in. You know, has been fantastic. You know, the communication between our divisions absolutely helps. You know, so that when we can get them in, we can get them in. You know, not a problem. But just going on a report, spring sports prep, you know, baseball, softball, high school, lacrosse, soccer, South End Community Center, high school. We're starting to, you know, obviously put in all these fields towards, you know, towards March. The end of March is when high school starts. The beginning of April is when when the Sterling House starts. So we're trying to get everything all set. We've painted most of the fields for Sterling House and or baseball, but there's still a couple left that are just in areas that haven't dried yet that are just too wet. We put in about 17, 18, 20, 21, 22. We put in about 30 fields painted. And we still, like I said, we still have those couple more to do. One up at Flood and a couple, 6 more over at Second Hill Lane. So we're getting those in. Hopefully this week it looks better. Lyric Park Playground is now complete and online. It was, you know, completely moved, renovated, new swing set, new play structures, new rubber borders instead of those old plastic borders that we used to use. And this is the first playground, you know, for the town side that we're using rubber infill instead of fiber.
Which one was that, Chad?
Lyric Park on North Avenue.
Oh, okay.
You know, rubber infill, although it doesn't break down like fiber, it still displaces like fiber. So it's still a labor-intensive piece of, you know, playground surfacing that still needs requirements underneath swings, at the end of slides, you know, so on and so forth. We're still going to have to go to it and move the infill around. You know, the only thing is that hopefully we don't have to replace it year to year, you know, by movement or by breakdown as fiber would. We painted Penders Field. So as people know, or some people that are new to this committee, Penders does not have lacrosse sewn into the turf. So we have to paint that every year for lacrosse and for that small soccer/lacrosse field that goes along Glendale in the left field of the baseball field. So we got those painted. We only have to paint them once a season. Those two are done in the spring for spring sports, and then the football hash marks are not sewn in either, so we paint those before football season, usually in August or something before school starts or before the actual season starts. George Forest Park is moving along great. All the cable systems are in and all of that stuff. They're pouring concrete on Monday, April 8th. So we should have a concrete structure on Monday. And then it'll take about 2 weeks to cure. And then they'll be working on the actual wall itself, getting all the old paint and pitting and all of that stuff, resurfacing the wall. They're just going to put regular stripes. I talked with some people from the handball and the handball associations, and they're okay with just keeping the concrete color and not even going a painted color. They don't want a dark color because it hides the ball. And if you go a light color, we might as well just keep it the light concrete color. It's just easier to maintain in the long run. The golf course opened on March 29th and it was open for Easter weekend. We did about 155 rounds, so it was pretty busy. You know, it wasn't the best weekend, but it was decent. Since then, we've only done 2 rounds just because of the weather and everything that's been going on. So that was it. And then I had one other question for the committee. Up at Flood Tennis Courts, we're probably going to be repainting because it's almost 7 years that we did the post tension up at Flood. One of the new style ways that they're putting pickleball court lines in the court is actually perpendicular to the court net. So it would be perpendicular instead of using the tennis court net. It would be in the both, playable areas of the tennis courts, and you essentially go to 4 pickleball courts instead of 4 courts on two tennis courts compared to just 1 court per tennis court. Because the actual pickleball net is lower than a tennis court net, we're finding that people are manipulating the net to get it lower, which is essentially damaging or bringing damage to our roll-up systems or our netting tension systems. So it's just something that Renee had asked me to ask you guys to see if it's something. The downfall of it is if you go to Flood, you need to bring a net, a temporary net, like they do in Bird's Eye Gym or something like that. So if people were to know that they needed to bring their own net, their own balls, their own rackets, which they do automatically, this would actually double the amount of courts that we could put up at Flood. Because there's 4 tennis courts, we could put 8 pickleball courts. So I'll just, we don't have to vote on this now or anything. It's something that we want to do this year as preventative maintenance. About every 7 to 10 years, you're supposed to paint the post-tension concrete courts, and they've actually changed the technology so that when we repaint it this time, it's supposed to go 10 years to 12 years. So anybody want to comment on that or any idea?
I like the
I was just,
pickleball idea, but I'd like to talk to some of the pickleball players how they feel about bringing their own net.
Yeah, Chad.
uh,
So that's my question. Like, what are other towns that have it set up that way? Like, what is the likelihood of people bringing their own net? And I'll just throw out like Sewing House is running like lessons for pickleball adults. I mean, we would have to bring 8 nets if we were to, go to Flood to run lessons with these expanded courts. So just the
the
practicality of
Nets,
bringing the nets every
Actually, it
time.
would be
I
4
don't know if
nets. No, it would be 4 nets because it's 4 courts, right?
No,
No,
I
it would
just
actually
said it would
be
double.
2 courts on each end. So perpendicular to the tennis net would be a court. So instead of parallel with the tennis and playing over the tennis net, you actually play perpendicular to a temporary net.
Yes, but there's 2 courts on each side of
There's
the
4
net.
courts at Flood.
Oh,
4
oh,
full-size courts, so it would be
so
8
both courts.
pickleball
Okay,
courts.
okay. I was thinking one
And
set of tennis
so,
courts.
so 2 comments, Chad.
Mhm.
One is I was noticing the net issue this weekend because I went up there and played pickleball actually on Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and I did notice that the nets were damaged, and it did look like people were trying to push them down. And technology with the portable nets has gotten pretty good that they do not take up a lot of room. They roll up and fit into a bag, and the portable nets are not a big issue. I don't think transporting. I have one. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean,
Chad, this is Tim.
what's that? I'm sorry.
Chad,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is it possible to partner with the library, and could they do pickleball nets as as an item that people can borrow? I don't know if they do that for a lot of other items yet, but I know a lot of libraries are doing that with so many different things now.
I mean, it's always
If
a
I could,
possibility.
this is Amy. If I could stick my 2 cents in, I think we could probably put a lockbox there, and just when people rent it, just like when they do the paddleboard court, we give them the code to the lockbox. They go in, they take out the thing, the net, they set it up, and they put it back when they're done. I mean, most of the people are adults, and they'll take care of it. If they don't, then we could stop, but we could start.
We lose
I
Amy?
think I lost everyone. Yeah, I'm
Right.
here. I'm coming back. I'm sorry. I'm driving, Bill. I said really. I will still take it out, put it together, use it, and then put it back in the lockbox when they're done.
But that would only be one net, right?
I could buy a couple. I mean, they'll fit.
No, they're
We just have, I don't
small.
think
I
they're
mean,
that expensive.
it's
Yeah, they're very
yeah,
they're very
it's
small.
probably
About
takes up the
100.
size of a folding chair,
Right.
like a
So even if
soccer
I got
folding
a,
chair.
I mean, and they're not that expensive. They're only a couple $100. So, we can probably buy a couple as a test run.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. You can get them
Yeah.
120 bucks or so to start with, and they last. And they've gotten even better now than they have a year and a half ago.
And I also like the idea of seeing if the library would try to go on that as well, that somebody could borrow it from the library.
The only problem I see with the library is that it's flood. So in school zone, you would have to go on off hours or later when school gets out. The summertime is different, but it's something I could talk to Sherry Seisminsky and see if that's something that they would pursue or not. Absolutely.
To me, I'm just saying somebody goes out, they rent it for like a library book. They get it for 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, I was
like to
doing
say,
some research. I was just doing some research and I saw that there was other high schools that had started to do this because of the net issue. At first it was kind of novel. We'll play over the same net. You got to lower it. You got to raise it. It's part of the permit. Hardly anybody, I would say 80 to 90% do it wrong or incorrectly. So this was a way to kind of change and number one, get more, because we're getting the biggest complaint, one of that we're getting is we don't have dedicated pickleball courts. They're all, except for Worcester, are on tennis courts. So this is a way to get dedicated pickleball courts, on tennis courts.
I'm in favor of it. My situation is a different situation, but I work at Brookline Country Club. We're installing a new paved court, and we're doing 4 pickleball courts, 2 on each side of the net. I think it also opens up the ability to have a tournament, some sort of an event. You can have 4 games going on at once.
Yeah, exactly. It basically doubles your capacity. Yeah, again, this is not something that's happening right away. We could kind of stew on it, put it as an agenda item. We could vote on it. I haven't really brought it to, I wanted to bring it to you guys to see if you wanted to favorable recommend it to town council and all of that stuff, so just kind of
Do we
open it
need
up.
to do all that, Chad? Do we need to go through town council and everything? I mean, why can't we just buy a lockbox like they have at a boat, on a boat dock? Buy a lockbox, throw a pad on it. I could throw a couple nets in it. We could test run it and see how it goes. Is there a reason to go all through town council? I mean, unless you have to repaint lines.
Well, we have to repaint the lines, yes. I mean, it's going to be a project to repaint the actual court itself is close to $100,000, so
Okay.
when they break it down, it's a lot of money. It's 80 to 100 grand. So to repaint either 4 pickleball courts or 8 pickleball courts is going to adjust the pricing a little bit. I think it's about 4,000 per court. So that will be presented as part of a project. But if you guys are okay with that, then we'll get the pricing for it, see what the pricing comes back is, then we can make a recommendation, to the council that we want to do this project in this way, rather than the traditional way of just 4 courts over the tennis net.
Yeah, I think it's worth
And then
getting.
one other thing, Chad, I would say we maybe do this at Short Beach instead of at Flood, where Flood, the high school teams play at Flood. So maybe we try it at Short Beach first, where it's, you don't have high school teams playing there.
So as soon as Longbrook Park is going to be built, high schools are no longer going to be there. So in the future, you're still talking about a school field, and the problem is that Short Beach is already complete. The pickleball lines are already there. So if we tried to add these lines on tennis lines, on pickleball lines, it's really going to be a confusing stature. So that's why we
You're
chose.
saying there's not pickleball lines now at Flood? I thought there were.
But we're going to be repainting the whole surface.
Oh, okay.
So the whole
So it's
surface is
just adding it in. I get
repaint.
it. That's fine.
So yeah, when we repaint, instead of where they traditionally are, we're gonna change them 180 degrees and add more potentially.
I got it. Makes sense.
I
You
like
know, and
I like the idea of making it more accessible at. Sorry, I like the idea of making it more accessible at Short Beach, but the wind and the weather down at Short Beach also makes it a shorter playing season. Whereas where it's calmer up in the at Flood, people can play earlier in the spring and later in the fall, compared to that wind that makes it just really raw out there. From what I hear from the players that I talk with all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we put windscreens down there, but it still is a very windy location. So that's one of the biggest complaints down at Short Beach is that the wind is there. Yes.
Have there ever been any complaints about noise from pickleball?
The good thing
Not
is
to me.
the good thing is that 95% of our pickleball courts are not really in residential areas like next to a house. Flood is removed, Benalla is removed. Longbrook will probably be the closest when that structure is built with the houses on Prim Street, but Worcester is removed. So we haven't really fielded any questions on it or complaints, but that would probably go through Amy or us, and if Amy hasn't received any, we haven't received any either.
Yeah, we're actually putting up acoustic tiles on our chain link fence because of the neighbors.
Yep. Seems about right.
So Chad, to go get a price, you need a motion from us, or you can just go do that, right?
No, I'll get when we're going through the project, I'll get a price both ways. So we could compare what the pricing is, and then we decide how we want to go. And if it's something that you guys, want with the, perpendicular pickleball lines, then we could just present it to the council that way. That's fine.
Sounds good. Let's see. The Lucas scoreboard. Did that ever get done?
Yeah, that's all complete.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Yeah, it's complete. It's functioning. Everything's ready.
Especially make Stratford High happy.
Yeah, if they ever get to play there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's underwater right now, but yeah, I mean, I think April 9th is the first game that Tony has scheduled there against Benal. So next week was pretty decent, with some 60s, some 50s, 60s, sunny days. So if it'll be ready to play, it'll be ready to play. If not, then, they'll have to move it to Benal or whatever. So we'll go from there.
Has there ever been any talk about doing a softball game on the turf at Benel? Because it can be, but no.
No, I mean, literally, Bill, that mound it's a temporary mound, but literally it takes 5 hours to break down and move.
Oh, okay.
So it's not something in the middle of baseball season that you would say, hey, Public Works, we're going to play a softball game there on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday afternoon, we're going to play another game. It's very involved to take the thing apart, to move it. It's extremely heavy. So yes, it's a multi-use field, but it's not really that conducive to moving that mound.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for Chad?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask one, like the first thing you talked about, Chad, with the park with the rubber and the, uh, you said it may have to be replaced every year, or is it something that just gets added to? You put like
It,
another coating on it?
yes, it doesn't get fully, there's 12 inches of crumb rubber in there right now. So if it displaces some top 2 inches, we'll just have to fill in certain areas, not replacing the whole rubber infill, no. No. But there's no way, like 5R, this is loose, it moves, it gets displaced underneath swings and all of that stuff. But you also have the breakdown factor of it, killing itself or, rotting. So 5R, we literally have to replace 3 to 4 inches every year on a playground, where we're hoping that the loose infill, we don't have to replace as much or as often, but we still have to make sure that it's not leaving the containment area. Because if it's leaving the containment area, then we have to replace it. So that's the one thing that we're learning now.
Chad, I drive by this every single day on my way to Nichols School, and it's been looking. They did it really fast. It looks really nice. I'm psyched about that. I'm just curious about the environmental impact of all these rubber chips over time. I mean, they're going to be getting displaced and floating down King Street or North Ave, or
No.
kind of what happens with that?
No, those things, because they're very, very small, they would just displace into the grass area. They would never move beyond that because it's not like it's cork where it's going to float. It's rubber. And everybody, had asked, this is rubber that's actually produced for playgrounds. It's not recycled rubber. It's not paraben rubber. It's not, any of the crumb rubber that we're traditionally used to. This is a rubber recycle that does it, but they also produce knowing that they use good rubber for playgrounds. So,
Hey, Chad, speaking of that park on North Avenue,
yeah,
with it being moved a little bit closer towards the point of that park, is there any thought of a fence on the other side of the street? Where
yeah,
North Avenue kind of forks the
it's
street.
Disbro. It's Disbro Street.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, when we had looked at it, we had to get it away from the maple trees because of the surface
right.
rooting. It had to be moved, and
No,
we
I get
chose,
all that. I just was
yeah,
curious. It was just a
but
little
we
bit
chose,
closer.
we tried to keep it as close to the parallel fence along North as possible. So if we
Yeah,
see that we're getting complaints about containment issues, possibly, we could erect a fence on the other side. But until we get complaints that are viable and, make complete sense, like basically where the playground is now is only about 4 or 5 feet where the swing set used to be. So there
yeah,
was an
sure.
area, that kids are used to playing in,
Yeah,
but now it's just the playground instead of the swing set.
yeah.
So
No, it's been utilized pretty well by the daycare community. They appreciate that park.
we did get a phone call, saying that they were very nervous because up on the upper platform, there's an opening where, a small kid, a small child could fall out entering the slide. And, it's talking with a woman and it's like, well, how old was a 4-year-old? Well, the playground is designed for 5 to 12. It's not for 2 to 5. So it's actually a climbing feature, which goes to a platform. So when you have a more developed child, i.e. 5 to 7 to 11-year-old, they know to climb up and then exit. So yes, she made a very valid point, but it's,
No,
not the way that,
understood.
yeah, it's not the way that the
Thank you.
playground was designed.
No,
Yep,
those
no,
are
I get it.
exactly the features that the older kids need, and I'm literally driving by it right now and see kids on it, and it's, those are the features that my 5 and 7 and 10-year-old would think it's a stupid playground if it doesn't have
Yeah,
those little bits of calculated risk to allow them to do. So I think that's great.
absolutely. Yeah, no, it was a good project, very good project. I'm very happy with the way that it came out. And, if it works well and the rubber works well, then we'll start to use it on some of the other park playgrounds, instead of 5R, because, 5R is very expensive. Um, the 5-bar and rubber critical fall height is very, very similar. They're both in the 9 to 10 foot range, depending on how thick it is. So if you're not dealing with the breakdown of 5-bar and dealing with the displacement of rubber, that might be easier to deal with.
Hey, one other question about the playground. Is there any signage indicating the appropriate age?
Yes.
Yeah.
So on the Disbro side of the playground, on the entrance stairs or the entrance platform, there's always a sign that's from the manufacturer what the playground is designated to, and it says right on it 5 to 12.
Oh,
All
good.
of our playgrounds say that. So if you go to the main pillar of the playground, it's always written on it. We did talk about, as we start to change some of these playgrounds, we could start to add our own signage, coming into the playground and the park, but it's there, it's displayed. Not sure if it's repetitive or not. So we could see if people get really confused on what type of playground it is, then we could look into our own signage or more clear signage or separated signage, something like that.
And then speaking of signs, are the Worcester pickleball courts numbered, or maybe Amy, that's a question for you. Do they really need to be numbered for the people reserving them?
I don't know if they're numbered, but I haven't had any complaints.
I thought somebody brought that up at a meeting, but I don't remember.
Yeah, we were gonna talk to the sign guy or just order signs 1 through 4. That's easy. We could do that.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
Thanks.
Just on a side note, we're working together with the logistics for the Yalp playground at Birdseye. We have the playground, it's being delivered. We just have to figure out electrical and all of that stuff now so that it could be installed probably towards the end of April, May, because that's pour and play rubber. So we want to make sure that the evening temperatures are warm enough for it.
What was
That's
the name
going,
again, Chad?
it's a Yalp. So it's play backwards. And it's called a MEMO, MEMO, and it's an interactive structure, electronic interactive structure that has I think 32 or 38 different games on it on these pillars and an arch. So it's really cool. It's neat.
And then one other playground question is: are there any plans for a larger playground at Johnson? That was brought up when I was there recently.
No.
No.
I mean, if the Board of Education wants to change it, that one is only 2015, so it's 10 years old now. So, and we just put the pour and play rubber underneath it, so it should be good for another 8 years before we have to change it.
Okay, thanks.
And then I know Board of Education was saying Soto, now that it's a preschool, they want to change those playgrounds to 2 to 5-year-olds. But again, like, that was a donated school, and I don't know how that works, if they're still under contract, not under contract. I don't know. That would be a long, we'd have to see like documents about the whole, how it was set up.
All right, thanks, Chad.
You got it. And then the one last playground that we're changing is Chapel School. I have all the parts. It's going to be a pour in place rubber, and that will happen when school is out because of all the construction that's going on the school now. So that's something that'll happen in the summertime.
Oh, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, I guess we can go on to Amy.
Yes, hello. I'll rattle through. If you need to stop me, stop me. We had summer camp registration on Monday. We sold out 4 of our 6 playground camps. Longbrook sold out in 6 minutes. We currently have 56 on the wait list for Longbrook and 140 kids on wait lists all around. We had about probably more than 1,000 registrations on Monday for the various camps throughout the town. We have adult and youth programs going on now. We start our second session of spring, April 22nd. Men's softball, yoga, pickleball, still indoors. There's no co-ed softball this year on Sundays. Nobody signed up, which is fine with me. We're still doing swim lessons at El Grasso. We're going to start our next session May 11th. We've been doing private lessons, and we are sold out every time. So we may try to expand that program. Just got to make sure I have enough staff. Aqua aerobics is still going on, and we have a new program, aquatics for arthritis. Doesn't have a lot of people in it right now. It's a new program, but we're hoping to grow the program. Reservations for the tennis courts, everybody's doing those online. Everybody seems to be doing it fine, no issues. Haven't really heard any complaints, so that's going well. All the youth fields, everything's been booked. Everybody's got their fields and their permits, and I'm working on their payments for porta johns and field use. We did 2 job fairs last week at Bunnell and Stratford High. We interviewed about 110 students between both schools. We have about 120 returning employees, so we're probably going to wind up with about 220, 230 new employees starting for summer between beach stickers, lifeguards, playground camps, sports camps, and all that stuff. The rentals of the pavilions are picking up as we're coming into summer. And big events, there's a big boxing show at Stratford High School on April 13th. Similar to what was done at Pender's over the summer. This one's inside at Stratford High. Rotary has their paper shred on April 20th, and there's also a Roosevelt trail run on April 20th.
Amy, are there any spring basketball programs? Somebody was asking me.
Yeah, we have drills and skills basketball that we're running on Saturday mornings outdoors at Birdseye. Starts April 20th, the week of April 22nd, whatever the Saturday is.
Oh, good. I'll pass it on. Let's see. Well, I guess looks like at this point there's no interest in Nicky's, so most golf tournaments, if they want, can have their picnic right there at the course, right, Chad?
Hey, Bill, are you guys good with me? Because I need to jump off if you guys are good, if no one has any questions.
Anybody have any other questions?
Hey, Amy, this is Prez. I just wanted to ask, what was that about the co-ed volleyball? Was there no interest or minimal interest in that?
Co-ed softball, no interest. We used to run it on Sunday mornings.
Oh, wow. So there is only men's softball.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's Mondays and Wednesday nights.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, guys, thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Hey, Bill, this is Rick. I think there was one lady that was interested in that Nikki's. I'm not sure if she's moving forward. It did go out to bid, I believe, and she did come down and take a look at it.
Yeah, I thought I heard that when it went out to bid, there was no interest. You didn't hear anything, did you, Chad?
No, I haven't heard anything.
No. All right, I guess we can go on to continuing items. Longbrook tennis courts, I went by the other day and it's all cleared out, but looks like they're probably waiting for drier weather to start work, is what my guess is.
I believe they started drilling for the lights. NNS Electric has been there working on it. So I think they have to do that first, and then they'll start working on the base and all of that stuff.
And then Morgan Francis property, I noticed there's activity, but that project's years away before we'll get a field there. Well, at least they're starting. Anybody have any new business? If not, under old business, I would say we can strike the basketball court, because when I talked to Principal Johnson, they're more interested, and I think Chad, they want to get a futsal court and a Gaga pit, possibly 2 Gaga pits. All the teachers want basketball.
Correct. They wanted to do a futsal court, yes.
And then the batting cage at DeLuca, I think we can scratch that for now, because I was told they've got one, I guess, at the gym at Stratford High that they're using. And both those, if there's an issue with them, we can bring them back in the future. So next meeting is Thursday, May 2nd. Thanks everybody for switching to 5:30, because I actually have to rush off now to a meeting at Stratford High for the Board of Ed. And Aileen will talk about where that meeting will be. Maybe we'll do outdoors at Booth.
Well, we know what my answer is going to be.
Yeah.
But you know what? And I'll say this because I got almost everybody was able to join tonight versus,
Yeah.
trying to pull the quorum together when it's at town hall.
That was going to
Okay.
be my question as well. What the criteria is for there being a virtual meeting as opposed to in person.
It's how much I bitch, moan, and complain, Mike. We'll call a spade here. That's what it is.
So I guess since COVID, they've continued to allow virtual meetings, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I think next up is Rick.
All righty. Well, with that, if nobody else has any exciting information, we'll make a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Michael seconded it. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Anybody dare to oppose? Okay.
No.
Thanks.
Thank you, Eileen.
Meeting adjourned at
Okay.
6:07
Thanks,
p.m.
guys. I
Have
appreciate
a
it.
great night. Go Yukon.
Take care. Thanks,
And
guys.
happy belated birthday, Billy.
Thank you. I'm still
Happy
celebrating.
birthday, Bill.
Happy birthday, Bill.
Take care.